I spent 30 years wearing a badge, and in that time I answered more calls than I could ever count. Some were tragic, some were strange, a few were unforgettable, but one night still follows me decades later. Even now, after retirement, I can close my eyes and see that house exactly as it was. I remember the address. I remember the weather. I remember the feeling that settled into my stomach the moment my partner Steve and I stepped through the front door. The call itself sounded routine. A neighbor had reported a possible domestic disturbance. Arguments between couples weren't unusual. Most of the time, we arrived, separated two angry people, calmed everyone down, and filed paperwork before moving on to the next call. Nothing about the dispatch suggested that this night would be different. It was late, and the streets were nearly empty when we pulled into the driveway. The house sat in darkness except for a faint glow coming from somewhere inside. What struck me immediately was the front door. It was standing wide open. Steve parked the cruiser. Neither of us spoke for a moment. "You seeing this?" he asked quietly. "Yeah." An open door at that hour wasn't normal, but it wasn't enough to alarm me yet. People left doors open for all kinds of reasons. We stepped out and approached the entrance. The second we crossed the threshold, a powerful smell hit us. Marijuana, not just a little. The odor was so thick it felt like it coated the inside of my throat. Mixed with it was something far worse, a harsh chemical scent that burned my nose. Meth, cocaine, something along those lines. I exchanged a glance with Steve. Whatever was happening here wasn't going to be a simple domestic dispute. "Police," Steve called out. His voice echoed through the house. No answer. I stepped farther inside. "Police department. Come out where we can see you." Silence. The house felt strangely empty. No television, no conversation, no movement. Then, thump. A heavy impact sounded from upstairs. Both of us froze. There it was. Someone was definitely home. Steve's hand immediately moved toward his holster. He had always been more cautious than me. Sometimes I thought he was overly paranoid. That night, his instincts were better than mine. The noise had come from the second floor. Steve looked at me. "Let's take it slow." I nodded. For the first time that evening, something didn't feel right. And as we started climbing those stairs, neither of us knew we were walking into a nightmare that would end with a body, gunfire, and a discovery far worse than anything either of us expected. The staircase creaked beneath our boots as we moved upward. The deeper we entered the house, the stronger the odors became. The marijuana smell was overwhelming now, but underneath it was something else. Something heavier. Something rotten. At first I couldn't place it. Then a cold realization began creeping into my mind. I'd smelled death before. Every police officer eventually does. And this felt disturbingly familiar. The second floor hallway was narrow and dim. 3 doors sat at the far end. 2 stood partially open. One was completely closed. The closed door was in the same direction as the noise we'd heard. Steve leaned closer. "That's our room." I nodded. My pulse had begun to quicken. The smell was definitely stronger here. I walked to the door and knocked hard. "Police. Open up." Nothing. Not a sound. I waited another second. Then I grabbed the knob and shoved the door open. The smell hit first. It exploded out of the room like a physical force. My stomach immediately tightened. Then my eyes adjusted, and I saw the body. For a moment, neither of us moved. The woman lay motionless on the bed. Even in the darkness, it was obvious she had been dead for some time. The room fell completely silent. Every instinct in my body suddenly screamed that something was terribly wrong. Both Steve and I drew our weapons. The situation had changed instantly. This was no longer a domestic dispute. This was potentially a homicide scene. Steve reached for the switch and flooded the room with light. The sight became even worse. The dead woman remained where she was, untouched, while shadows stretched across every corner of the room. I felt my heart pounding against my ribs. The house that had seemed merely strange moments earlier now felt dangerous. Very dangerous. "Clear the rest of it," I whispered. Steve nodded. I stepped back into the hallway. The next room waited only a few feet away. For some reason, that short walk felt endless. I remember staring at the doorknob. I remember my hand hovering over it. And I remember not wanting to touch it. Fear had finally arrived. Not nervousness, not caution, fear. Every horror story I'd ever heard seemed to be playing through my head at once. Part of me wanted to retreat downstairs, call for backup, and wait outside. Instead, I forced myself forward. My hand wrapped around the knob. I turned it, then pushed the door open. The room beyond was tiny. No windows, no decorations, no furniture except a filthy cot pushed against the wall, and nobody inside. But somehow that empty room felt even more unsettling than the one containing the corpse. Then, from across the hall, Steve suddenly screamed. The sound snapped me into motion. I spun around and rushed back across the hallway. For a split second, I thought someone had attacked him. My heart was hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. When I reached the doorway, Steve was standing with his gun raised. "Don't move," he shouted. I followed his line of sight. At first I saw nothing. Then I looked higher. A shirtless man was stretched out above a dresser near the wall. The position was so bizarre that my brain struggled to process what I was seeing. He had somehow climbed onto the furniture and flattened himself against the wall, hoping we wouldn't notice him. But we had. "Get down," Steve yelled. The man remained frozen. "Now." Slowly he began moving. I stepped farther into the room to help cover him. That was when something grabbed my ankle. A hand shot out from beneath the bed. The sudden pull nearly knocked me off balance. For one terrifying instant, I thought someone was trying to drag me underneath. Instinct took over. I stomped down hard with my free foot. The grip loosened immediately. I crouched, grabbed the arm, and yanked. A frail woman came sliding out from under the bed. Her appearance was rough. Her eyes were glassy and unfocused. She seemed heavily intoxicated. The room instantly erupted into chaos. The shirtless man was climbing down. The woman was screaming. Steve was shouting commands. I forced the woman onto the floor and secured handcuffs around her wrists. A few feet away, Steve successfully restrained the man. For several minutes, the house echoed with yelling, threats, and confusion. Yet despite all of it, one thing kept bothering me. The dead woman. Who was she? How long had she been there? And why were these people hiding in the same house with her body? We began escorting both suspects downstairs. The pair continued screaming as we moved toward the front entrance. The tension felt like it was finally breaking. The situation seemed under control. 2 suspects in custody. No immediate threats. The nightmare was almost over. Or at least that's what I believed. We reached the bottom of the staircase. I was focused on getting the woman outside. Steve was watching the shirtless man. Neither of us noticed the movement above. Then a horrifying scream exploded through the house. It came from upstairs. Loud, violent, completely unhinged. I looked up, and what I saw charging down those stairs nearly froze me in place. A man was sprinting toward us. He appeared out of nowhere. 1 second the staircase was empty. The next, he was barreling down the steps. His face was twisted with rage, and in his hand was a knife. The blade caught the light as he raised it above his head. Everything happened in seconds. The 2 suspects we had already arrested started screaming even louder. The house erupted into absolute madness. The attacker never slowed down. He came straight at us. I remember trying to react, trying to move, trying to raise my weapon, but my brain was still processing what I was seeing. The distance between us disappeared frighteningly fast. Later I realized I probably had less than 2 seconds before he reached me. Maybe less. Fortunately, Steve reacted first. Much faster. His training kicked in immediately. A gunshot exploded through the house. The sound was deafening. The charging man jerked violently, then collapsed. Silence followed. A terrible, heavy silence. For several moments, nobody moved. The only sound was our breathing. My hands were shaking. The realization hit me all at once. If Steve had hesitated, if he had waited even another second, that knife would have reached me. Without question, he had saved my life. Additional units arrived shortly afterward. The house was secured. Investigators began processing the scene, and slowly the truth emerged. The residence wasn't simply a house. It was a crack house, a place filled with drug activity and dangerous people. The woman we had discovered dead upstairs had not died naturally. Investigators determined she had been murdered. The shirtless man we arrested eventually admitted responsibility. According to the case, he killed her because of a dispute involving payment. Even after decades in law enforcement, I still struggle to understand how a human life could be valued so little. But that wasn't the only thing that disturbed me. What haunted me was how many people had been inside that house. How many secrets had been hidden behind those walls. And how close Steve and I had come to walking directly into an ambush without realizing it. The entire situation had begun with a simple domestic disturbance call. By the end, it had become a homicide investigation, multiple arrests, and an officer-involved shooting. The kind of night that permanently changes the way you look at the job. Years passed after that incident, then decades. Eventually, I retired. 30 years of police work came to an end when I turned 50. I've had plenty of time since then to reflect on everything I experienced. The good calls, the bad calls, the tragic calls. Yet whenever someone asks about the most disturbing moments of my career, my mind always drifts back to that house. I can still remember standing in the doorway, the smell, the silence, the feeling that something was watching us before we even reached the second floor. What makes the memories so unsettling isn't just the violence. It's how ordinary the call seemed at first. A neighbor hears an argument. Police get dispatched. It's the kind of report officers respond to every single day. Nothing about it suggested the horrors waiting inside. That's the frightening part. The worst situations rarely announce themselves. They hide behind routine calls, behind normal neighborhoods, behind houses that look no different from the others on the street. Looking back, there were warning signs. The open front door, the chemical odors, the strange silence, the thump from upstairs. But at the time, each detail felt explainable. Only later did they come together like pieces of a puzzle. Sometimes people ask whether the experience changed me. The answer is yes. After that night, I trusted my instincts more. I paid closer attention to small details. And I never ignored that uneasy feeling when something seemed off. Because sometimes your instincts notice danger before your conscious mind does. As for Steve, he never lost sleep over pulling the trigger. At least that's what he always said. Whenever the subject came up, he'd shrug and tell people the same thing. He made his choice. Steve believed he had removed one more dangerous person from the world. Maybe he was right. Maybe not. What I know for certain is this. Had Steve not reacted when he did, I wouldn't be here telling this story. That knife-wielding attacker was seconds away from reaching me. And those seconds made all the difference. Even now, after retirement, some memories fade while others remain crystal clear. That house remains crystal clear. The dead woman upstairs. The suspects hiding in impossible places. The scream from the staircase. The gunshot. The silence afterward. Some calls stay with officers forever. And out of everything I witnessed across 3 decades in uniform, that night remains the one